My wife was supposed to die that day. No, wait. If there's one thing I've learned from this whole ordeal, it's that some idiot on the internet is going to take anything I write in the worst way possible. When I say should, I don't want her to die, I mean, it's surprising she didn't. But what if I'm completely honest? My life would probably be a lot easier if she did. This is another thing I've learned: if people are going to quote you out of context and twist your words, you can still just say what you mean. So yes. The fact that she survived the shooting meant that I received a lot of crap that I shouldn't have. The shooting itself should have been just a blip. Or I guess it wasn't meant to be. Every shooting, big or small, should motivate our officials to do something useful. But from the point of view of the mental hospital we live in these days, this should have been a blip. I won't name the shooter, fuck this guy. His name should have died with him. We'd all be better off if we didn't give these nutcases the press they want. Of course, our society and our media, whether mainstream, civic or social media, will not do this on any important level. Patience deserves no respect. Likewise, I won't say why he did it. He could be an incel, a white supremacist, a religious extremist, a psycho, or a jilted lover. Doesn't matter. No matter how much of a jerk he was, 6 people died and 9 were hospitalized. A 2-year-old child will never recognize his mother. The father had to watch his son die. A couple dozen people, maybe more, will have nightmares for the rest of their lives. No. Fuck his plans. Whatever idiotic excuse he had for shooting up the restaurant, the only lasting impact it had was on the lives of the people left behind. People like me and my wife. But like I said, there shouldn't have been anything noteworthy enough for the shooting to be more than a blip in today's culture of soundbites and doomscrollers. Oh, people searched and eventually found something that would propel this particular shooting into the public consciousness, but there was no immediately obvious hook for cloud hunters and talking head vultures to hang their hats on. The culture warriors found no support from either the left or the right. The death toll remained in the single digits, so it lacked the dire statistical significance that would have made assessment easier. 1 child died and 2 more will suffer injuries for the rest of their lives, but the victims were mostly adults, so that angle is also inappropriate. Take all that away, and why should some idiot shooting Chipotle with an SU-16 matter to the jaded, overexcited American people? Why? Because someone found a personal point of view, and that point of view turned into the destruction of my marriage and everything that led to it. On the day of the shoot, I was stuck in an endless scrum, a sort of daily review of software development projects. Getting up should take no more than 15 minutes. The second hour had just passed while the project manager, product manager, and development director were arguing over stupid, trivial nonsense. Ray, one of my buddies, was looking at his phone while the 3 of them measured their genitals. Hell, half of us spent our time secretly scrolling through social media feeds or watching videos with the sound off, but Ray wasn't bothered by even that level of obfuscation. He simply placed his phone on the tabletop, switching between apps and laughing at the articles. Or he did until he elbowed me in the ribs. Check. He hissed. Check. Looking up from the Bloodstomp 4, the stompening teaser trailer, I whispered, "What?" There was a shooting in the city center. I shrugged, raising my palms. Okay, so? He showed me his screen. Is this Tracy? His Twitter feed, I refuse to call it X, showed a video of a woman and a man standing just inside a police cordon, locked in a passionate embrace. The guy, a big muscular dude who looked vaguely familiar, ran his tongue down the throat of the smoking hot blonde. She adjusted to him. This was not the photo taken on VJ Day of the sailor kissing the nurse as she struggled to free herself from the stranger's grasp. No, the blonde kissed back as if she had done it dozens of times already. However, she suddenly tensed and pushed him away. The woman looked around with a confused and awkward expression on her face and recoiled from him, but I had no doubt, my wife of 4 years was cheating on me. Perhaps it didn't go beyond kissing, that's all I had to prove. But her body language and his body told me that something more was happening. The video is just a short excerpt repeated from the very beginning. This time I saw the background of the kiss, a shopping center storefront with broken windows. Cops came and went, passers-by stared into the distance with ghostly gazes, and my wife sucked her lover's face. Send me the link. Pointing his finger at the screen, Ray muttered, "Damn it, sorry." I nodded to him and stood up. All eyes turned to me. In some of them I saw something that I would often see in the future, the pity that people, especially men, feel for cuckolds. The management idiots stopped their bickering, but I didn't care. I simply muttered, "Emergency. I have to go." Even as the door closed, I heard muffled voices saying words like shooting, wife, affair, and poor bastard. I didn't know the exact location of the mall, but it was easy enough to find all the information I needed as I left the office, headed to the elevator, and walked into the parking garage. Tracy didn't call, and neither did the police. I doubted they would do it since she looked unharmed. On the radio I learned more details, or at least as much as the local public broadcaster promised. I was angry at what the video showed me, but that wasn't why I was shaking like a leaf while I was driving. God, my wife almost died. I was angry, yes. Damn, my marriage seemed to be going to hell. But I still loved Tracy. I loved her for 6 years. Even if it turned out that she had cheated on me, actually fucked this guy, and not just the meaning of that kiss, I couldn't imagine that I would hate her so much that I would want to see her dead. My phone's GPS led me to the mall, but once I was a mile away, I didn't need it anymore. There were so many police cars, news vans, helicopters, and curious onlookers overhead that I couldn't miss it. Parking a few blocks away, I made my way through the crowd to the barricades. The policeman who was on duty at this station shouted at me to move away, although I shouted back that my wife was inside. I saw Tracy sitting on the bumper of the ambulance with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She looked into the distance, wrapping her fingers around a paper cup. After I shouted her name over the policeman's shoulder for the 10th time, she finally looked at me. My wife stood up and ran towards me, blanket and cup thrown on the ground behind her, then rushed over the barricade into my arms. The cop, who probably only had 5 seconds to taser me, reluctantly turned his attention elsewhere. I didn't care, my wife clung to me like a child, sobbing incoherently. That's when I noticed this idiot. He was talking to the police, but when Tracy rushed towards me, he followed her until it became clear where she was going. Or rather, who she was heading to. This bastard looked like he belonged in a damn superhero movie or on the cover of a magazine like one of Marvel's Chris's in the flesh. He slowed down, but stopped when I looked at him. He stared back, then grinned happily, then changed his expression to a wide grin and walked back towards the police. I worried that I wasn't seeing the last of him, but one crisis at a time. The paramedic, apparently realizing that he had lost his patient, approached Tracy and me a few moments later. "Ma'am." He tried to get her attention, but she grabbed me tighter. "Ma'am. Ma'am. Ma'am, I need to take you to the hospital." Tracy screamed. No, it was the first intelligible thing I had heard from her since I arrived. The puzzled ambulance officer looked at me pleadingly. "Sir, this is protocol. I need to take her to the hospital." Tracy hugged me so tightly it hurt and shook her head against my chest. I asked, "Was she hurt?" "As far as I can tell, no, but..." She growled, "I'm fine." "Fine. Ma'am, we need to keep an eye on you." "You are shocked and..." "No fucking way, asshole. I almost died." "Yes, ma'am, and I'm very sorry, but..." My wife looked at me, her blue eyes bloodshot and red, and begged. "You're welcome, Bill. Please, I just want to go home. I need to be with you. Please, Bill, please." "Sir." I stopped him. "Look, I understand that you are doing your job. But she is clearly traumatized. Do you really want to add anything to this?" "No, but..." "Tell me what to watch out for, that's all they do in the hospital anyway, right? Leave her for observation?" He could tell he couldn't win this argument. Should I have been on his side? Perhaps, but Tracy seemed so scared and vulnerable, and I couldn't imagine sending her with a stranger would improve the situation. The paramedic looked at the two of us and gave up. He had a couple of forms to sign and gave me a rundown of what to look for. The police had already questioned her, and once they had my contact information, the two of us were able to leave. We had to wade past a camera crew from a local network affiliate with an angry no comment, but eventually we made it back to the car. I helped her in, then sat down and led us to our house. Our house. Even then I wondered how long it would last. We didn't talk in the car. She simply looked out the window at the horizon passing by. When we hit a pothole with a loud bang knock, she jumped and screamed. When I got home, I pulled her inside and took a warm shower. She had no serious injuries, but did receive a few abrasions and a couple of small cuts. The paramedic treated them, but her clothes were dirty and I wanted to avoid any chance of infection. Besides this, she needed comfort. A warm bath might have been better, but I didn't want to risk her falling asleep in it. As I helped Tracy undress, her matching bra and panty combination set off a new set of warning signs in my head. Unless she had something or someone special planned, she almost always just grabbed whatever was in the front of her underwear drawer. Perhaps the matching combination was a coincidence, but I doubted it. I frowned but refrained from commenting. Adding more evidence to the pile didn't change the fact that she was too numb with shock to have a coherent conversation about where, why, and who she was with. That doesn't mean I wasn't worried about it. I did as the ER doctor recommended, keeping her away from the news and the phone, talking to her gently and softly to make her feel as comfortable as possible. But in the back of my mind there was always the thought, she had sex with someone else. She's cheating on you. Why the hell are you doing this for her? The answering voice shamed me with its simple answer, she was a person in pain. Yes, she was my wife too, but I would do that to a random stranger, let alone someone I love. There would be a price to pay, but if she fucked this guy, she wouldn't be making love to him in less than a day or two. It could wait. I may or may not have lost my wife to another man. I wasn't going to lose my humanity either. That night I slept restlessly next to her. Even if I didn't think about the video and its consequences, I wouldn't sleep well. Tracy woke up screaming several times, and I had to cuddle her back to sleep, soothe her, and say words of love that I was no longer sure I fully felt. She almost certainly lied to me. I could do the same. However, in both cases she was the beneficiary of these lies. In between nightly screaming fits, I researched the divorce laws in our state. I didn't want to jump into it right away, but I wanted to be prepared. We didn't have children, we rented an apartment, we were only married 4 years, our finances never fully merged. Divorce can be as quick and easy as we want it to be. If we had to choose, that is, choose without the world looking like a pack of jackals waiting for the next juicy morsel to feast on. Text messages were my first warning that things weren't going to go smoothly. Ray was far from the only person who saw this video and shared it with me. The call started before I even reached the barricades at the crime scene and didn't stop until I turned off the phone on the way home. Because of everything else, I forgot to turn it back on until the next morning when I discovered there were literally hundreds of messages on it. And not only texts. Facebook Messenger, Twitter, Discord, Slack, Teams, literally every communication channel that allowed one person to message another had copies of the damn video waiting for me. I had to relive one of the worst moments of my life over and over again when concerned people from my past contacted me and informed me that my wife was probably having sex with another guy. Most of the messages were of the hang in there brother type. Some of them were, I'll help you take this bitch out into the desert. These guys, they were all guys, were blocked. Some, especially her family and friends, begged me not to jump to conclusions. Among them, I learned everything I wanted to know about Chad Wilkerson, the man captured on video kissing my wife. I hated Chad. Chad had good reason to be a big, burly, smug son of a bitch. He was a linebacker in high school, college, and then briefly played on a professional team. Back in high school, he dated Tracy for about 5 minutes. They didn't stay together long enough for him to fuck her, at least that's what I thought from numerous supposed messages, but they were moving in that direction before heading off to different colleges. My wife's ex-boyfriend owned his own business. However, it was not homemade. His family came from money, unlike mine. But he was apparently a decent boss. I found this little information from a coworker of his who did some digging on the internet. He tracked me down by going to Chad's Facebook page, where he saw that Chad was friends with Tracy, and then saw that Tracy was married to me. The fact that a random dude could track me down so easily hinted that a real shitstorm was about to hit my head. By the time Tracy woke up around 9, new video had surfaced, including raw footage of the shooting itself, recorded by the restaurant's security camera. I didn't want to see this, now I will never develop this. I won't describe it, I'll just say that Tracy almost died and Chad saved her. Saved everyone. He grabbed the criminal, took his weapon and beat him to death with it. Even I couldn't deny his bravery. My wife walked around the house like a zombie. I called her to set up an appointment with a consultant, but it would be a week before she could see him, even though the need was urgent. We still needed to talk, but I knew that in her current state nothing useful would come of it. People called Tracy, friends, family, a few reporters. They called her phone, they called me, they called her home office number. I longed for the time when the worst thing I could hear after hello was someone trying to sell me a warranty on my car. I did everything I could to get her to calm down and stay away from the internet and TV, but it was only a matter of time before she saw something. I answered calls and random people knocking on our door, but that meant I couldn't keep an eye on her. And finally, she opened a web browser to try to catch up. 15 minutes later I found her sitting at the table sobbing, the video of the kiss playing over and over again on the screen, just the passionate part, not her pushing away from him, along with detailed information about the two of them. It was all scattered across the local Facebook community page she belonged to. I'm sorry. She didn't even look at me. Tracy, we can talk about this later. No. She turned in her office chair towards me. I didn't cheat on you. I promise. I promise. Tracy. I know it looks bad, but it's not. Wait. She wiped her eyes, then closed them, trying to regain her composure. It's true that I dated him for a while in high school. I didn't love him, it never happened. When we met then, we knew that there was no future. It was just fun. I sighed and sat down in an empty chair. I think we're doing it now, I thought at the time. If only everything were so isolated. If only it could stay in this now. Tracy continued, I didn't cheat on you. I didn't cheat. She looked at me pleadingly. Please believe me. I didn't do it. What happened next? My wife was worried about her lip. I knew her long enough to recognize this story. It was he's going to be so angry, but I might as well rip the band-aid off look from biting my lip. Chad reached out to me a few months ago. He said that his company is going to expand into this market. In our city. He needed someone who could help with advertising and graphic design and things like that, and he thought about I live here and know what the advertising market is, who's cool and, well, you know. Tracy was a freelance graphic designer who was in high demand. This room, her home office, was our home office during the darkest days of the pandemic. In fact, our marriage began just before the quarantine. We got married in October 2019, 6 months before the world shut down. I knew exactly how talented and well-connected my wife was, and I was proud of it. I got to see her skill and hard work every day for almost 3 years. Even after COVID, my bosses decided that the savings on rent, utilities, and the like more than made up for the lack of face-to-face interaction at the water cooler. Then the company was bought out, management changed, and suddenly everyone had to go back to the office, even though the numbers showed that we were much more productive when working remotely. Why did not you tell me? She shrugged. Because he was just the guy I knew. We dated for about a month. I didn't even think of him as an ex-boyfriend. Not really. He was just this guy, kind of a friend from the past, that I became friends with because we had a lot of mutual acquaintances. And then he added me as a friend again. This was about a year ago. I didn't even really talk to him until he called me out of the blue. And you know how it goes. I have constant meetings with clients, sometimes 6 or 8 times a month. It just wasn't, she sighed. That's all he was. Client. Tracy began to worry again, trying to work up the courage to continue. I spoke unintentionally and sounded more stern than I probably should have. At first. Her expression changed. The sadness and worry gave way to something close to fear. Not fear of the physical, I'm not that kind of guy, and Tracy knew it. But fear of change. Fear of loss. I have always been her support. Tracy could be as flighty as any artistic type, and I kept her grounded and protected during our 4-year marriage, as well as during the 2 years we dated. In the dictionary, my photo was next to the word reliable. And so to see her rock begin to crumble ever so slightly, to hear the rumble of an avalanche warning in his voice? The fear made sense. Tracy hesitantly said, yes. At first. And, please, Bill, you have to believe me. I never intended for anything to happen. I mean, nothing happened. Not really. It was the first time we kissed after school. But, she sighed. But I exposed myself to temptation. I won't lie. We sat there for a few moments, looking at each other, before she looked away guiltily. Why? Why? You said it all started as a business. Fine. This was an ex-boyfriend, even if he was underage. You should have. He said something, but you didn't. I half understand why, although I think you're being disingenuous. If I did the same, you would be furious. Yes. But you, she sighed. You are not me. You are calm. Thoughtful. I didn't think that. A self-deprecating laugh escaped her lips. I do not think. Perhaps the proposal can be shortened here. Agreed. Her eyes flickered to me for a moment, but her head didn't move. And then when we met him a few times, it was comfortable. He was a client who became a friend. Yes, we dated almost 10 years ago, but this. To be honest, I didn't really think about it. Him as an ex-boyfriend. I mean, before you were with me, you dated. What was her name? Cindy? 2 months. Do you consider her your girlfriend or just someone you were dating? There was an unexpected growl in my voice. Do not do that. What? Don't try to talk about what ifs. Her head turned towards me, her eyes starting to fill with panic. No. I'm just trying to make you understand what I'm thinking. I didn't want Tracy to melt, partly because I wanted to get over it all in one go, but partly because as angry as I was, she didn't need more trauma piling on top of all her other trauma. My tone softened, but it still contained reproach. I would consider her close enough to tell you that we were having lunch together, even if it was just for business. She nodded, saddened. You are right. I should have done the same. I didn't, and I'm really sorry. The wife sighed and looked away again. And then he got closer. Closer than I should have been. Never. Like I said, it was the first time he kissed me after school. And last time too. I'll never go near him again. And I didn't want to, I didn't plan to do anything. Then why were you wearing matching underwear? Tracy swallowed. Because it made me feel sexy. She closed her eyes. It wasn't for him. It was for me. I'm so sorry. It's true. Since you went back to work, well. A half-sad, half-flirty smile crossed her face as she looked at me once more. You remember what it was like before when we both worked from home? I did. Very lovingly indeed. Two newlyweds stuck in the same house 24/7, one working as a freelancer and the other working in an industry that expects results but doesn't really care how they're delivered as long as he meets deadlines? We fucked. Like rabbits. Hell, the rabbits cared more about their living space than we did. No surface, no time of day, no kink we wanted to explore was off limits. At the time, we had supplies from Amazon like everyone else, but our purchases were skewed the hell out of our offer listings. Judging by previous purchases, you might like anal beads. Or how about a good electrical stimulator? By the way, yes and firm no respectively. The week I found out I was going back to the office, she and I went into a frenzy of sexual activity, trying to squeeze in as much of the time we knew we were short on. When I returned, I missed her and she missed me. We made love for a while and she jumped on my bones as soon as I opened the door, but gradually things stabilized. I knew we both didn't notice, but I did great. She obviously didn't. She saw the smile on my face fade as the memories turned into realization. Her frown mirrored mine as she continued. I know you hated going back to the office, but at least you had people to talk to. I had phone calls and a few lunch meetings, but mostly I was just sitting in the apartment, trying to focus on work and trying not to focus on how much I wish you were here scolding me on your desk. Or, honestly, just had lunch with me. Or laughed at something funny on the internet. Or hugged. I missed you so much. I felt lonely. And I know you did too, but you also had those stupid new bosses. You came home at night completely upset with them, and I was going to, what? Complain that I didn't have time. Sometimes I relax with you? Oh, woe is me, I can take a nap in the middle of the day if I need a break. What kind of nonsense is this? I grumbled, it's better than having an affair. I didn't make love to her. I barely kissed him. Damn, I didn't kiss him. He kissed me, I was lost in the moment, and then I pushed him away. We almost died, and he saved our lives, and she stopped, her mouth open and her face frozen in the realization that she absolutely should not finish that sentence. It was wonderful. I could. Yes. He's a real man. I did not say that. I didn't even think about it. But he's big and strong and charming, and I spent time. She stopped again, horror crossing her face as she realized what she had done. Crap. Damn, I did it, didn't I? I actually had an affair. He seduced me and I let it happen. Crap. Even if it was only emotional, it. Oh God. Oh God, Bill. I'm sorry. The love of my life reached out to me. I didn't pull away, but I didn't respond, at least not physically. My voice became dull. What would happen if you died, Tracy? If I shook my head. She didn't need to hear that right now. What? The tears that had disappeared returned to her eyes, turning them glassy. They haven't fallen yet, but they could very easily do so. Just like she could. All they needed was a push. We've come this far, I thought. We might as well bring the matter to an end. I would have to identify your body. I gasped at the thought, my voice breaking as I continued. I would wonder why you are here. I took your personal belongings. Saw you wearing matching underwear and realized what it meant when you did it for me. Tracy's first tear fell in a big fat ball, leaving a shiny trail down her cheek. And then, when I looked at your phone, what would I find, Tracy? What did I find that so far I have answered every call, message and email from people trying to contact you in the last 24 hours? What did I see in your text messages to him, in your email? She looked away with an expression of deep shame. I continued. Yes. Yes, you know what's there. And once I found out that you knew the guy you had lunch with, that you were dating him, what would I think if you died? When I read how you spoke to him? Were the messages innocent, Tracy? Flirty? Perhaps bordering on the sexual? How would they look to a grieving husband? Would I think that you were faithful to me? Maybe. Probably. But would you have remained faithful? Would you have lived? I don't think so. And you? She closed her eyes and one flickering mark became many. No. No, Bill. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I know you are, darling. I know you exist. I patted her hand and she sobbed briefly. But if this had not happened, would you have regretted it then? Or would you only regret it after you've gone too far? The short sobs turned into a string as I pulled her into my arms. It hurts, Tracy. I know you're hurting right now, much more than I am. But it hurts me too. I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, I'll never be that stupid again. My wife's head was pressed against my shoulder, her body shaking as she struggled to get the words out. I said nothing. I didn't want to make any promises that I couldn't keep. Instead, I just hugged her tighter, felt her warmth against my body, and tried to remember the love I felt for her. It turned out to be easy. However, when I sought the trust one had before, it diminished. Yes, I could believe that she was just being stupid. I could believe that she would never do this again. But I was also sure that only chance and tragedy prevented her emotional affair from turning physical. Maybe we could survive this. Probably no. I know that she changed a lot in those few minutes when she almost died and in the days that followed. But accidents and tragedies are not over with us, nor are the fickle tastes of the dopamine-dependent internet. They will take the marriage we were both hoping to fix and end it. We didn't turn on our computers or phones for the rest of the day. She finally understood why I tried so hard to keep her away from them. The TV stayed on Netflix or Hulu, watching silly comedies or novels, no action, no horror, no drama. They didn't have the same charm as the day before. Our food was delivered from DoorDash, and we tipped the driver well for having to dodge the news crews who came looking for us. The well-dressed buzzards received a stern no comment when they finally found our door. That night we lay together, cuddling, while Tracy tried to sleep. After a while, she looked at me and, without saying a word, kissed me fiercely. Some of the shock from the previous day had worn off, and she needed a way to channel her energy. I felt a brief twinge of irritation. That's exactly the kind of kiss she gave him, the bastard who seduced her, but then my wife straddled me. She needed to feel alive, I needed to feel like she was mine. She kissed me again, open-mouthed and passionate. My tongue penetrated her lips. Tracy moaned into my mouth, breaking free and sighing, "Fuck." I moved closer to her, stretching her the way she liked, with quick, rough movements. Our connection did not last long. That wasn't the point. It was about our needs, not our love for each other. She pushed herself off my chest, riding me with desperate abandon, screaming my name over and over as her orgasm approached, then silently screaming as it came. Tracy stroked my back and hair, kissed my cheeks and lips until I was ready to go again. We lazily made love for the second time, giggling and smiling together. She was alive. She was mine. I was hers. Yes, she was a fool, but she knew it. She admitted it. I was still hurt, but I had no doubt that she would do everything she could to win my trust again, and I would work with her to achieve this. We could go to therapy, relationship counseling, take a vacation together to reconnect, whatever it takes to get there. The next morning, she and I woke up just as happy as we had been before bed, taking the opportunity to make love there one more time, and then again in the shower while we washed each other. This combined sense of purpose and new commitment felt heavenly. She prepared breakfast while I prepared coffee. We looked at each other across the table with the expression of two newlyweds. And then we discovered that while we may have been ready to move on, no one else was. I opened my laptop and discovered that the story had not just gained popularity, he grew wings. The story of a mass murder committed by an insane person has turned into a novel that bears little resemblance to the truth. We disconnected from the world and reconnected with each other, but the internet never sleeps. In 48 hours, history was transformed and transformed again. First came the traditional media, local news outlets that picked up the story of the shooting and carried it online. It should have died right there, becoming just another minor tragedy that barely generated thoughts, prayers, or angry rhetoric. However, there was little news that day, and local channels had already made waves by getting footage of Chad kissing my wife. Not all, of course. The versions posted on social media by the time the partners started looking for them were mostly cropped versions, with only Chad and Tracy locked in a passionate embrace rather than her pushing him away. The plot of the first 24 hours became fixed: love among the ruins. People have seized on this idea, a single point of hope in the midst of a senseless shooting, comparing it to a young couple who met shortly before the shooting at a Las Vegas concert. You know the picture: a man lying on top of a woman, covering her in the middle of the street. Within hours, people started contacting them, demanding that they date, get married, and have children. Their story had a happy ending, but they were free and alone. Tracy wasn't. Chad was a public figure, the owner of a small but profitable company. I never saw him again, and I don't think Tracy either, but he already had someone doing his PR. They jumped at the free advertising. He appeared on Fox within the first 36 hours, presenting himself as an American hero, a shining example, in their opinion, of the kick-ass, take-no-prisoners man who built this country. He demurred when asked about Tracy, smirking and saying, "A gentleman doesn't kiss and tell." God, what an absolute moron. However, their viewers ate it up. This part of the narrative is established early on. Chad is the hero. Chad, a former NFL business owner who single-handedly stopped a madman by taking his gun away while others looked on in fear. His story had everything needed to create a legend. In the early days he might have joined Johnny Appleseed and Paul Bunyan in the pantheon of folk heroes. But this was the 21st century, and apparently someone on one of the message boards decided it was time to revive early 2010s memes like Bad Brian, Trash Steve and Overly Attached Girlfriend. Now Chipotle Chad has joined their ranks. When Chipotle Chad memes first became popular, they embraced the mythical coolness promoted by Fox's appearance and his PR team. The background image was taken from his Instagram. Chad has perfect hair, 2 days of stubble, and a stoic expression as he looks out into the distance from a mountaintop. Early punchlines tended to repeat old Chuck Norris jokes from the 2000s. I think someone really wanted to go on a nostalgia trip. The bastard even used some of them in his advertising campaigns later that year. After a day or two, the mainstream media retracted the story. Some political gaffe by the would-be candidate pushed him from center stage, and then a sex scandal between two celebrities I'd never heard of thrust him into the orchestra pit. Tracy and I held our breath. We hid in our apartment for most of the week, hoping everyone would just go away. We both knew that the fame the internet wanted to give us was about 99% curse and 1% blessing, and we hoped to quietly fade away before that happened. Then someone well and truly doxed Tracy. They found out where she worked and lived, as well as her friends, family, colleagues, email address, social media accounts, phone number and, of course, her marital status. This marked the point where our lives really started to go to shit, even more so than the shooting itself or the revelation of my wife's emotional affair. No one had ever come up with a meme for Tracy before. But when did professional trolls find out she was married? They had the perfect direction, double Tracy. Like Chipotle Chad, the iconic image of two-timing Tracy also came from Instagram. It showed a photo of her sitting at a table, gazing in awe at a handsome man sitting on one side of her, while I fiddled with my phone, looking like a drug addict, on the other. It didn't matter that the man in the photo was her gay cousin, whom she hadn't seen in 2 years, and that I was desperately trying to get news about my father, who had been in a car accident. The truth didn't matter, only the narrative that the audience brought to the image, and that narrative is about a woman clearly ignoring her husband in favor of flirting with another man. For days after the 5:31 a.m. shooting, I was called a weirdo for the first time in a Twitter post. This was far from the last. I didn't know this man, well, probably, anyway. None of these platforms confirm who posts on them. However, XX_cunsplitter_XX didn't seem to be the kind of guy I would want to spend time with. He was just some random person looking to take down a man who had already been through a terrible time in his life, the type of low-level sociopath predicted by Gabriel's great internet bully theory, normal person, consequences plus audience equals totally kicked. With my baptism as Chuck Cuckoo, the trifecta of new image macros is complete. Honestly, I'm grateful that these chatterboxes chose to rhyme rather than use my real name. The meme didn't take off as quickly as Chad's or Tracy's, but it had a certain longevity that neither of them could match. I think the image of a dumb, glasses-wearing nerd ignoring his gorgeous wife in favor of his phone has struck a certain niche among those people who want to relate to bumper stickers with slogans plastered on stolen photos. Within a day of the doxing, new memes about Chipotle Chad began popping up. A representative sample read, "Making love to your wife/saving her life." However, Chad had a PR company and they turned this pile of filthy straw into even more gold. After all, what could be more manly than a jock stealing a nerd's woman? Tracy became famous very, very quickly. She was a gorgeous woman and no man looked at her wherever she went. I always thought I had surpassed my best by catching her, and the internet was happy to confirm that suspicion. The disillusioned housewives and their successors who made Twilight such a runaway hit a decade ago were still lurking in the shadows, waiting for a new love triangle to distract them. Now they had a real life, at least in their heads, and a whole new section of the internet had joined in to kick the crap out of our marriage. People wrote real fanfiction about us, damn it. I think it's a sign of the times that Team Chad had a lot more followers than Team Bill. My wife did her best to allay my fears, but she had already almost cheated on me. Our brief attempt to reconnect was interrupted by the time we spent holed up in our apartment, frantically checking various screens and wishing we could become invisible. Now all my doubts and fears grew stronger every time I looked anywhere on the internet. We tried to go to counseling, but our new fame ruined it. Tracy and I met with several therapists, but they decided that the attention we brought would be detrimental to their practice. We finally found someone who would see us, but, dude. At the first session she seemed strangely hostile to me. Even Tracy saw it. Not in an overtly disgusting way, but in almost every way, going against me. In the second, she began highlighting where I might have caused Tracy to go astray, while downplaying what she had done. Neither of us were very happy with what she did, to the point where Tracy fought for me in protest. The evening after this session, I decided to look for a good consultant's personal Facebook page. You might have already guessed where this was going. It turned out that she was completely Team Chad and wanted to infiltrate her favorite soap opera. Unprofessional? Unethical? Even immoral? Certainly. But so what? We weren't real people, right? For her, we were just characters in her favorite drama. After that, we kind of refused outside help. Tracy soon found her graphic design business inundated with new requests. Most of them came from creeps, but quite a few became legal. Internet fame can be a double-edged sword, but it can certainly be lucrative if you survive it. A few weeks later, she hired a virtual assistant to sort them all out. So yes, my wife was considered a slut on the internet and had to deal with more than one stalker, but she sure as hell capitalized on her shame. To me? Not so much. My return to work sucked. One or more of my colleagues plastered my office with various memes. No one admitted it and my manager helped take them down, but he had a little smirk on his face the whole time. New ones appeared daily, and sometimes more often. If I left for lunch? Memes. Need my car serviced? More memes. Sick day? Oh, you better believe there were memes. I knew that this was not the development staff, or at least not my immediate colleagues. Hell, some of them took pictures of salespeople, managers, admins, and other people posting memes in my cube. Didn't matter. I tried contacting HR, citing a hostile work environment, but found no help. This didn't surprise me. Heck, one of the HR people was photographed doing this. We lived in the state for hire, and I worked for a shitty company. Without a lawyer, I would have no chance of getting them to change their behavior, and with a lawyer, I would be fired for some stupid reason unrelated to a hostile work environment. I might be able to get some money back over time, but it won't help in the short term. Every day I came home more and more gloomy. Tracy tried to help, trying to comfort me with words, displays of affection and physical intimacy. Unfortunately, after seeing her face plastered all over my desk with mocking comments printed on it every day, I couldn't help but feel less warm towards her. It didn't help that her nightmares got worse over time. Yes, they were terrible for her, and I tried to be a loving and supportive husband, but for me it meant less sleep, which made everything less bearable. The larger internet, with the exception of the senders of Team Chat and Team Bill, stopped caring as much after a few weeks, but our memes survived. Yes, over time they became detached from their original context, but my wife was still a literal example of blatantly cheating wives, and I was the same for oblivious cuckold husbands. I hated my job more than ever, but finding a new one led to dead end after dead end. On the occasions when I got to the point of interviewing, about half the time they just wanted a photo with Chuck, for the other half, they immediately stopped the process when they realized who I was. Everyone in tech knew what kind of shit would happen if they hired me. Hell, most of us did this kind of trolling stupidity when we were younger. Our relationship gradually deteriorated before my eyes. My situation changed with that of my wife as I became isolated, with few friends and no outlets. She had more things to do than she could handle, which alleviated the loneliness that had previously plagued her, but also drove us further apart. Even without the two events that precipitated the end of our marriage, I don't know how we would have managed to stay together. I probably foresaw the first one. No, I know I could. A group of kids from a nearby high school found out that Chuck the Cuckoo worked at a local office, and they found it extremely funny to pester me as I walked in and out of the building. Whatever. They were children. When I was their age, I was bullied worse. I figured they'd get tired of it eventually. For 2 or 3 weeks I simply ignored their taunts as I walked from the car to the building. I knew they were filming. At some point I saw a video on TikTok. They did it not just for fun, but for views. Again, whatever. Just dumb kids doing dumb kid shit. One day, however, they threw something other than insults, rocks. I turned towards them, attacked them, and roared with rage, bleeding from the wound on my cheek. They ran away. I cleaned the cut, covered it with a band-aid, and hoped that would be the end of it. I considered calling the police, but the development team was having difficulties and I was too busy to bother. By lunchtime I was a trending topic on Twitter. Chuck Cook attacks children. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon I was sitting in the office with my boss, his boss, and the HR representative. Long story short, I was fired. They told me that we live in a right-to-work state. I told them I would sue for creating a hostile work environment. We went back and forth a little. Voices were heard and threats were made. Finally, after hushed whispers on their side of the table, they offered me 3 months severance, all my vacation and sick pay, a glowing letter of recommendation, and the right to unemployment benefits if I signed a non-disclosure agreement. I spoke to my lawyer and he advised me to sign the deal and move on with my life. It would be nice to get on with my life. That's not what happened, but it would be nice. A new wave of ridicule and anger came at me from almost every imaginable angle. Luckily, the internet outrage died down quickly and within a few days they found someone else to call a new face. Whatever the hell they thought made me the bad guy, it became even more one source of irritation for me when I really didn't need it. The local job market certainly didn't improve as I went from internet buffoon to rabid lunatic. Yes, the full video eventually came out, but the police were unwilling to press charges. Children are just children. Damn useless idiots. You might think that staying home with Tracy would give us a chance to reconnect. You are wrong. The distance that existed between us only increased when I found myself underfoot. She didn't use the term explicitly, but her feelings on the matter were clear. Previously, the two of us sat locked in the apartment and it was fun and sexy. It was now distracting her as she tried to keep up with her tasks. Worse, really, I spent my time in a constant bad mood, couldn't find a job and was bored as hell. Tracy tried to be sympathetic, but as a freelancer, she had to strike while the iron was hot. It doesn't matter that she heated that iron that almost burned our marriage. Things moved on from there. I became more and more resentful of her. Not so much her success as the fact that it was achieved at my expense. As I went deeper into the depressive spiral, she became less and less sympathetic. I started working odd hours to avoid her. She started making fun of my sulking. Weeks of acrimony and controversy set the stage for the final act. Oh my God, that was crazy. The night we reached the point of no return, Tracy and I sat on the couch as far apart as possible. She and I had not made love for several weeks and had almost completely stopped showing any real affection for each other. I slept on the couch half the time because by that time we were already tired of each other. We never said specifically what we were sick of. We managed to consolidate the situation enough to avoid such honesty. But we both knew. She won the coin toss for the remote and I had to watch some ridiculous Korean drama. Mostly I looked at my phone and read a book. We both looked up from our screens when someone knocked on our door. Shrugging, I stood up and opened it. Have you ever seen a SWAT team in person? Like an entire SWAT team? I don't recommend doing this, especially when it becomes clear that some of them are frustrated that they can't point a gun at you. Although I didn't piss myself. Come to me. I can help you? A gruff older policeman asked, Mr. Kowalski? Bill Kowalski? Yes? I didn't mean to sound like a question or a squeak, but you know, there are a lot of cops with loaded rifles. He craned his neck, looking at Tracy as she walked up behind him. Tracy Kowalski? Yes? We received a report of a hostage situation at this address. Are you okay, ma'am? Tracy gasped. What? No, we're fine. I'm fine. We were just watching TV. It turns out that the SWAT team, fortunately, showed some restraint. To test the situation, they used a small flexible fiber optic camera inserted between the door and the jamb. Thank God we were watching TV in the living room, otherwise they would have broken down the door and thrown flashbangs, at least according to what I could find from the accounts of other people who got hit. That is, those who survived. Some dude from out of nowhere called 911, introduced himself as a neighbor and told them that I had killed our non-existent children and was holding Tracy hostage. Why? For the lulz, probably. Or maybe because they wanted me dead. Several people remained keenly interested in the love triangle they had built in their heads, and perhaps someone on Chad's team wanted to get me out of the way so he and Tracy could be together. I gave up trying to understand how such people think. Regardless of the reason, the result would still please Chad's team. Tracy and I got into it almost as soon as the cops left. I'm amazed they didn't come back 15 minutes later to check on the screams. I'm done. I'm fucking done with this, Tracy moaned, sitting on the couch with her head in her hands. Are you finished? Are you finished? I almost got shot. I know it. I'm really sorry. I rolled my eyes. Oh, well then things get better, don't they? I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. When will your sorry turn into something that will actually fix the damn shit show you've turned our lives into? Don't blame me for this. I'm not the one who. Furious, I barked, you were going to fuck the other guy. Yes, at the wrong time, in the wrong place, but you had no fucking reason to be in that place at all. I almost died. I snorted. And that justifies everything that led up to this moment? Since you almost died, does that mean I have to accept that you lied beforehand, that you met this asshole without telling me and fell for his bullshit? That I should ignore all this and everything that has happened since then? For God's sake, Tracy, you did this to us. You did all this to us. I did nothing but be a good husband, and in return you ruined my damn life. And here it is, the sentence I never uttered. God, it felt good to get that out. It felt like a boil was being ripped open. Tracy narrowed her eyes angrily. Okay, Chuck. No. No, damn it, she didn't do that. Stunned, I spat, what the hell did you just say? Did you hear me? You sat on that couch feeling sorry for yourself because you got fired, because the internet thinks you're an asshole, because, she made a sound of disgust. Whatever. Because my wife wanted to fuck another man? That's why, Tracy. That's why I was labeled with that damn nickname. But hey, at least yours is accurate, double. Her eyes sparkled. I told you, I never. Back off. It's just, my shoulders slumped. Just fuck off, Tracy. You did this to us. All this. You became bored and lonely, you allowed yourself to be seduced, you kissed Chad. God, Tracy, you almost died and I hate it, but now you almost killed me too. She opened her mouth to say something, but I ignored her attempt. Honestly, I mean it, fuck you. Fuck it all. I'm leaving. What's that supposed to mean? For the first time since I was fired, I saw real remorse in her eyes. Remorse and fear, not about a man with a gun, but about what our lives have become. Fear of the next words that will come out of my mouth. I want a divorce. It was all over except the screaming, and there was a lot of screaming. By the end of the night I was also crying a lot. We held each other as we fell asleep on the couch, and she still begged me to change my mind. I didn't hate her, damn, I loved her. This was the worst part. But I couldn't stand anymore what she did to us and what she did to me. It's true that none of the events that followed her stupidity were her fault, not the memes, not the crazy people treating our lives like one of her romantic dramas, not the kids with rocks, not the cops at our door. Not directly. She couldn't have predicted something like this would happen when she met her old high school boyfriend for lunch that day. But more than one snowflake is to blame for the avalanche. The next day we broke the lease. It turned out that the complex was happy to waive the fee if the residents who brought the damn SWAT team to their door would just quietly leave. We used our final week in the apartment to separate our belongings and sign the appropriate forms. She tried to use this to force me to stay, using every tool at her disposal. None of them swayed me. When I denied her the unfettered sex I wanted, with no strings attached, yeah, of course, she finally realized it was over. We left the keys at the leasing office and walked back to the cars. Tracy looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Bill. I know that. I know you're tired of hearing this, but it's true. I regret what I did. I love you." I silently said goodbye to my accidental tormentor, kissing her forehead, then got into the car and drove until she disappeared into view from behind. It was almost 3 years before I saw Tracy again. Although I heard it first. I would recognize that voice anywhere, especially when the woman it belonged to got angry. The lady who swore at the airline representative certainly fit that bill. "What do you mean it was cancelled? What about the next flight?" The besieged worker tried to calm her down. "I'm so sorry, ma'am, but your flight has experienced a mechanical problem and the next flight is overbooked. We can put you on one, looks like tomorrow afternoon." Day. That's funny. What about morning flights? Are you saying that they are all busy? "Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry, but due to the impact of the pilot and..." I watched from afar. True, I knew this voice, but from behind, the woman holding it like a club seemed almost completely unfamiliar to me. Height and build seemed appropriate, perhaps a little heavier than the last time I saw her, but not by much. However, my possible ex-wife, who now turned away from the ticket counter in disgust, had shoulder-length black hair with bangs instead of long blonde hair and glasses instead of contact lenses. Her outfit was not the bohemian yoga mom outfit that Tracy almost always wore during our marriage, but a sensible, conservative business suit with a skirt. But no. No, this woman was Tracy, and she hadn't noticed me yet. Or maybe she knew, but she just didn't recognize me. I have changed too. I walked out of the line we were both waiting in, following her frantic steps through the terminal. When the woman stopped, I patted her on the shoulder. She turned around and almost screamed, "What?" Then she saw me. Really saw me. I thought she would cry when I smiled warmly and said, "Hi, Trace." "B. Bill?" "Now William." "You know, because," I shrugged. "Because." She nodded, still stunned. "And yet. God, it's still so great. Different, but great. Luz. Now I go by the name Elizabeth." I smiled again, trying to look friendly. No matter what happened, I still cared about her. "Surname. A good choice." Tracy reached out and stroked my face and then grinned. "You grew a beard. Where are your glasses?" "LASIK. And yes, the beard. I always wanted to try it, but you never liked them." She laughed. "I still don't know." "But, Tracy, no," Liz tipped her head to the side and grinned. "But it's not as bad as I thought." I joined in her laughter. "High praise indeed." "What is?" A man rushing past me pushed me. We grabbed our rolling bags and headed out. "What are you doing here?" "I'm trying to get home. The flight to Dallas was cancelled and they won't arrive until tomorrow afternoon. I've been living out of suitcases for a week now, and I'm tired of it." She shook her head. "But I think one more night in a hotel won't kill me." "And you?" Same thing. Do you currently live in Dallas?" "Yeah." Her smile brightened. "You too?" "About 2 years. I'm just returning from a conference and would also like to return home as soon as possible." "Well, that won't happen tonight." "No, I guess." A quick glance at the clock showed the time 5:20. "You know, it's only a 4-hour drive. I could rent a car." I was suddenly overcome with curiosity. What happened to her? Why did she look like that? Was she happy? And how much did I really want to know one way or another? The devil and the angel on my shoulder argued back and forth. I'm not sure who actually won, but if I get one, would you like to? Yes. Her smile became embarrassed. I mean, yeah, that sounds good. My company can pay the bill. Then we should probably hurry up. I can't imagine we'll be the only ones thinking about it. Elizabeth and I almost ran to the car rental place, trying to find something decent sized before the lot was picked up. We settled on an SUV. More expensive than I would have chosen, but hey, her corporate card paid for it. Corporate card. Damn, I never thought I'd see her with one of these. Do you want to ride the first half or the second? She asked when we threw our bags into the trunk. I'll take it first. And you relax. Such a gentleman. Her crooked smile still had the same effect on me years later. Damn, I didn't even realize how much I missed her. Doubts began to creep in about the wisdom of it all, and she saw the trepidation on my face. Hey, B. William. It's okay if you don't. I shook my head. No, I love it. I'd like to catch up. Come on, let's hit the road. We didn't talk much as we drove through Houston's crazy rush hour traffic, mostly just phrases like, look out, and damn idiot. You know, regular conversation about driving in a Texas city. But then we drove out of town, put the car on cruise control and headed north on I-45. Previously, I had to take in only superficial information, but now I had time for details. As the miles passed in relative silence, I stole a glance at my ex-wife. Liz dressed mostly conservatively, but I could see little hints of Tracy in her, the pair of new piercings in her ear, the fashionable style of her glasses, the choice of jet black hair color instead of something more subdued. But then I saw a detail that I was completely unprepared for, a simple band on the ring finger of her left hand. My heart sank a little. I felt stupid doing this, of course someone would have grabbed her. I gave up all rights to it, and that didn't surprise me. I told myself that I shouldn't even be melancholy, but I was. Penny for your thoughts? She looked at me questioningly. It's just trying to ignore how much it hurts to see you gone. You just look like that. Another. About. I? Yes, I. Liz looked at herself shyly, then nervously twirled a strand of her hair. Such a familiar movement, completely reimagined. Memories echoed through my head, flirting with a pretty girl at a bar, trying to get her phone number, not knowing that she was as worried as I was. I saw my possible girlfriend naked for the first time, and her shyness grew along with my reverent silence. My new bride asks hopefully if our finances will allow her to start her own business. My distraught future ex realized that the last straw broke the camel's back. She smiled at me, embarrassed and with slightly downcast eyes. Everyone. Well, they changed after you left. Not right away, but not for too long. Maybe in 6 months? The initial fame kind of died down, and I was left with, well, Two-Faced Tracy. Or at least her reputation. New clients began to dry up. Old clients began arguing about their accounts, wondering if I was cheating them. Business, she sighed loudly. I gave it up. Oh damn, really? I'm really sorry. Liz shook her head. Back to corporate America. This first job did not last long. Tears clouded her eyes as she stared at me. Will, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't know how bad it could be. You told me, but I didn't realize how terrible it must have been for you and your shitty coworkers. I found a printed meme in my office just a few minutes before I was almost ready to cry. Plus whispers, women in the office avoiding me, jerks attacking me, thinking I'm easy. She ran her sleeve over her face. I ended up only staying there for about 4 months. Then I took a month off, got transformed and, she waved her hand at herself. Elizabeth, the sleazy corporate drone. Instinct took over and I reached out to stroke her hair. This simple kindness brought back the glassy shine to her eyes, even as she smiled gratefully. She leaned towards the caress and muttered, "Thank you." God, Will, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. I was such a bitch about everything, and... No. Stop. I mean, I took a deep breath as the flat, grassy landscape flashed by outside. Yes, you could be more understanding. I needed your support, but I don't know if I would have accepted it. I blamed you for everything then. I deserve it. Some of that, yes. Maybe even most of it. But not all. There were so many things that I swallowed and shook my head. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter now. My hand fell away as I remembered the tape that marked her as someone else's, then I nodded in her general direction. I mean, you're happy now, right? I left and you left. Liz frowned as she glanced sideways at me, not understanding, then her mouth and eyes opened in surprise. What? No, out of the corner of my eye I saw her look at her hands and take off the ring. No, I am not married. I wear this to avoid being pestered when I travel. I don't, dating wasn't a priority. Oh. I couldn't think of anything else to add, instead my mind was focused on the task of replaying this new revelation in my head. Dating wasn't a priority. What did this mean exactly? She muttered quietly, you left, you say? Mentally shaking myself back to the here and now, I muttered, oh, yes, I frowned. After we broke up, I guess I reinvented myself. Before everything happened, I was trying to find a new place to work, and then, well, I couldn't find anything. You know what happened there. Once again, I'm very sorry. I motioned for her to stop apologizing. Things haven't improved for me on that front. But I talked to Ray, my old colleague. And he invited me to try myself as a freelancer for a while. Find short-term jobs on Upwork and Fiverr and the like. Casual long-term contract where I could work from home. Employers don't see your full name on these sites until they hire you, and with a beard, no glasses, a different hairstyle, and using my legal name. Instead of Bill, no one understood who I was, and if they did, at least they didn't say anything. I chuckled quietly. Well, my old home exercises were no longer available, so I started going to the gym. Nobody bothers you at the gym if you're just a guy trying to work out on his own. I got in shape, and I know that I will let it slip. Hell, now that I've told her all this, I might as well keep going. After all this I felt better. I know I'll never be as big and strong as Chad, but I also know I'll let myself go, and I've always wondered if that was one of the reasons. No, don't do that, William Kowalski. You were 10 times bigger than he ever was. You were a good person, beautiful, and you loved me, and Liz seethed with indignation. Apparently aimed at herself. When I think about how I allowed myself to be seduced. No, when I left myself open to seduction. It was my fault. He seduced me, yes, but I made myself vulnerable to it. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing, do you understand? I loved you, but I was too stupid to cherish it the way I should have. Cherish you the way I should. She looked out the window. Such a damn idiot. I nodded to myself and then said quietly, thank you. Clearing my throat, I continued my story. But I found that I liked it, just being able to switch off and focus on strength training or running. I started doing it for myself, not out of feelings of inadequacy or anything. Anyway, then my mom got sick and I ended up moving back to Dallas to be near her. Actually, in Prosper. Liz looked at me with a bright smile. Hey, I'm in Selena. Wait, your mom. Is she okay? Yes, she's fine now. The cancer went into remission and has not returned since. But low cost of living, a little anonymity, I shrugged. I thought I'd better stay. Did she have cancer? My God. I am so sorry. I haven't heard about it, otherwise I would, she frowned. I don't think I would have done anything. Who wants to hear the opinion of the ex-daughter-in-law who ruined their son's life? I snorted. Mom loved you. Damn, she still loves you. I guarantee she would love to hear your opinion. Really? That fragile, hopeful tone in her voice hurt my heart. I found out the source of this. Isolation does this to you, makes you crave any contact that feels safe. I suffered from this for quite a long time and I didn't want to see her doing the same thing. Yes, it's true. A weak signal and a new indicator on the dashboard told me it was time to stop. Scanning the horizon, I saw a convenience station at the next exit. We need to refuel. Do you want something to eat or something? I'll take them while you pump. Anyway, I need to go to the toilet. 10 minutes and a couple of trips to the bathroom later, we were back in the car. The gas station was halfway, so Liz took over driving duties while I rummaged through the plastic bag of goodies she had purchased, bottles of water for both of us, Chex Mix for her, as expected, and mooncake for me. She looked at me warily and frowned. Oh, crap. I forgot that you're eating healthier now. I'm really sorry. This didn't even happen. The wrapper came off in a flash and I made little noises after I took my first bite. Oh my god, I haven't eaten anything like this in 2 years. Liz smiled with relief. They were always your favorite when traveling. Until now. I just don't go on trips much these days. No real reason. The fun is in the company, and well, there's not much company these days. She cast a furtive, incredulous glance at me. Is it true? You're so fucking hot right now. I mean, you were hot before, but her lips pressed into a thin line. Damn, sorry. Do you know what I mean? Will the Hulk smash? My ex had to stop laughing before responding, yes, asshole. You'll have to fight them off with a stick. I shrugged. For a while, yes, it was like that. But then it became such a problem. Not the fight with them, but everything that followed. Oh, you're not on social media? Why is this? Oh. Or, wait, why do I know your name? And your face is so familiar. Those who are encouraged by this really suck. I could almost see them thinking, I wonder if he's still a sucker. Tell me about it. After I explained that I wasn't interested in having sex with him, one guy literally told me, damn, you and I both know you're a slut. Why are you trying so hard? Shithole. Bitches. We toasted from water bottles and silently snacked and drank as she drove for quite some time until we were just outside of Dallas. Then Liz laughed quietly. What? She looked at me, grinning. I was just remembering the first time we went on our trip, when you wanted me to meet your family. I remembered and felt myself blush at the memory of how she first gave me the way. This made her laugh out loud. I see you too. It's a good memory. We both laughed then, but then the mood in the car became melancholic. This is true. It was a good time. We had a great time together. Elizabeth turned to face the road, sobbed, and simply said, yes. Silence overtook us again. I felt like I needed to say something. Moreover, I felt that she needed to hear something. Liz? I also wish. Her eyes flickered to me and then back to the road. Lord, for what? For not being stronger, I guess. For not being able to go through everything with you. For better or for worse, right? But I couldn't help myself. And I'm so sorry. My ex-wife frowned without looking at me. I cheated on you. Otherwise I would have done it. And at the end I was a real bitch. Yes, you were. When I didn't continue, Tracy looked back again and saw me smiling and then snorted. Asshole. Apologies are accepted. Pause. Really, I'm serious. But you don't owe me that. I ruined our lives. I ruined my life, I ruined your life, I interrupted quietly, I saved the lives of 30 people. What? Not directly. I mean, you didn't want to do it, but you did it. Just like you didn't want to upend our lives, turn us into memes, or force a SWAT team to show up in our living room. But you did it anyway. I will. Just listen, okay? I sighed. It's been 3 years, Liz. And I had a lot of time to think about it. A lot has happened since we broke up. Everything we talked about, freelancing, getting back in shape, changing my lifestyle. Name and appearance, mom got cancer and all that. We didn't talk about some things either. And one night, after a bad date with some jerk my friend was trying to set me up with, I needed something. Some good reason to just keep going. I took a deep breath through my nose and let it out slowly. So I sat down and wrote down everything that happened. I guess I was trying to figure it all out. You know me, I'm not the kind of person who believes that everything happens for a reason, or at least not for a reason. Supernaturally, A follows B, follows C, but there is no uncaused cause that makes them happen. But when I started making my list, I looked at what happened because of what you did. Everything is bad, yes. But I also replayed the shooting video in my head. There was a rush for lunch, and the place was packed. Chad wouldn't be there if you and he hadn't gotten close enough to have a friendly lunch. I can't imagine anyone there could get to that asshole fast enough. Snatched the gun from his hands and beat him to death with it. While I was speaking, Elizabeth fell silent and could hardly breathe. Her eyes were focused on the road, but I knew her attention was focused on my voice as I continued. As I said, things don't happen for some divine purpose. If this had happened, other people would not have died either. Hell, maybe this guy would have gotten the help he needed before he even got to this point. If only we had someone to look out for us. But things happened the way they did, and because they did, at least dozens of people had to return home to their families who otherwise would not have been able to do so. And, yes, Chad had his moment in the sun, but then everything fell apart too. I chuckled as I remembered seeing the video of him leaving the office. His PR team was top-notch. And his corporate lawyers? Not so much. One Mexican restaurant sent him a ban on using their name in his advertising, but he was told he could IGN. Or it. That led to a lawsuit, which led to discoveries that led to more revelations, workplace harassment agreements, sexual assault, drugging women, and a whole list of other crap that the great American macho hero couldn't or didn't care about. I don't know how to clear my cloud storage. Liz winced and nodded. Yes. God, I can't believe it, she sighed. I can't believe how easily he pulled me in. He had a lot of practice with all these other women. Anyway, that's another good thing, he didn't get any further with you than he did. Regardless of you and me. Well, you saw some of it, of course. I'm glad it didn't happen to you. But it probably would have happened if you two weren't there that day. And he could get away with it, hiding behind his family's money and his fame. But everything that happened to you? Yeah, it sucks. I won't lie. But do you weigh that against the lives of the people who survived and the fact that there is a predator in prison who would never have been put there otherwise? How selfish would I have to be to say, oh, am I the one who really matters here? Damn it, you. I nodded towards the road. Don't miss your exit. She pulled into the roundabout and I pulled over, giving her time to let her brain sort out the absolutely ridiculous mess that is high five. Once our rental behemoth was darting back and forth across the lanes and we got onto 635 and then the toll road, I returned to my story. Even though it was bad for me. Well, it didn't lead to wine and roses, but I quit that terrible job and started freelancing. Now I'm really happy with my job, and I would never have done this if we hadn't broken up. Without that flexibility, I wouldn't be able to go home and take care of my mom. I wouldn't get in shape. Wouldn't do, well, nothing that I have. And, yes, sometimes I was lonely, but I'm starting to make friends again, real ones, to whom I can tell the whole story. She smiled with a painful grimace, hinting at inner turmoil. This is good. I'm very happy for you. I watched her as she tried to control herself. I'm sorry if I think maybe things weren't going so well for you? She shook her head, her voice breaking. No, not at all. I tried to find positivity in my life, but I failed. Although, I think you're right. The smile became a little bolder. All these people survived. Chad went to jail. Are you okay? She nodded to herself. Yes. Yes, you are right. The misfortune of one or even two people, it cannot compare to this. It sucks, but it's impossible. I just want. Damn, Will, I just wish things could have been different. So that everything could be different. I'm glad you can look at it positively, but I will never stop regretting what I did to you. Or for ruining our marriage. Or 4? For some of this. And maybe it's selfish, but I'm just terribly ashamed of what I did. By this time, Liz had almost completely lost control of the tone and pitch of her voice, but I could hear a hint of self-hatred in everything she said. Yes, she didn't do nearly as well. No matter what she did to me, to herself, and to our marriage, I didn't want that kind of pain for her. Even if I still didn't care about her, and I did, she spent 3 years being bullied by complete strangers and her own guilt. She needed to hear these words. I forgive you. Her eyes flickered to me. What? I forgive you, Tracy. I mean Liz. Damn, I'm sorry, Stop. Stop. Tracy is fine. Everything is always okay for you and Tracy. She sobbed again. Are you serious? Do you forgive me? Yes, I know. Liz froze and was silent for almost a minute, and then whispered. Thank you. I looked out the window, but saw her reflection in the darkened glass. My ex-wife twirled her hair again, that nervous gesture that had meant so much during our time together. I was hoping it meant something specific now, but I wasn't sure. The toll road took us north of Dallas. We turned onto Highway 380, then to Preston and further north. The silence had become tense by then. Not awkward, exactly. I knew what I wanted to say. I think she does too. But none of us wanted to speak first and be wrong. However, we had little time, so I broke the détente. Another good thing came out of it. Liz looked at me, trying to hide her hopeful expression. I like your hair. Very Wednesday Addams. She laughed, wiping a tear from her eye that we both could pretend had gotten there. I was going to go with Jessica Jones, but oh well. Oh, my fault. Fortune favors the brave, I thought. Do you want to grab some coffee sometime? I'd like another drink. Yes. Yes, I would like that. Liz smiled widely, the tension between us subsided. Actually, I would love it. Fine. Oh, turn right this way. A series of turns led us through a quiet neighborhood to my home, a modest little starter home. We exchanged phone numbers and agreed to meet later that week. Then I got out of the SUV and pulled my luggage out of the trunk. Liz smiled and waved as I opened the front door, walked inside, and returned them. However, something in the expression on her face made me think before I closed the door. I threw my bags on the floor in the entrance and returned to the car, looking out the driver's window. Liz tried to shoo me away, but I could easily see her worried expression and motioned for her to open the door. She nodded, clearly trying to pull herself together as he slowly slid down, and then tried to make up for it with a light question. Are you forgetting something? Expensive? The crack in her mask widened. What's happening? Are you all right? I'm fine. A light maniacal laugh escaped her lips. Fine. Just tired. You know, it's a long trip and all, but I just need to rest. After. Her lips trembled and her voice trembled. Please. I'm fine. Please, Bill. Hey, it's okay. You can tell me. I don't want you to go home if you're not okay. Liz's teeth grabbed her bottom lip as her finger tangled in her hair again. Me not. God, I'm such a mess. Why did I screw this up? I tried to calm her down, but she kept talking, mostly to scold herself. This is the happiest 4 hours I've had in a year? Maybe more? And I can't even muster the strength long enough to go home. I can't pretend that watching you walk through that door and wave goodbye hurts more than anything since I first saw you leave. I'm so damn scared that I'll screw up this tiny little piece of chance, and that's what I'm fucking doing now, and you'll see what a fucking mess I am, and you're all so good now. How can you love me if I'm like this dash? Her eyes widened as she realized what she had said. Oh no. No, I didn't mean. I don't expect anything from you, I promise. I promise, Bill. But I can't help it. I love you. I missed you so much, and I know I'm acting like a weird little freak right now, and I'm really sorry. God, forgive me again. I just. Damn. Crap. Damn, I'm going to go. Liz, no. Wait. What? I do not want you to leave. Get out of the car, go inside and have a drink to calm your nerves. Hell, you can stay the night if you need to. She shook her head. Bill, I can't. Please. Please, if I go in there. I missed you too. You can't even imagine how much. Yes, I dated and some of them were fine, but it wasn't you. Even the ones that were good, a couple, maybe even great ones, it wasn't you. I took the hand that had gone from tangling her hair to almost tugging at it, and held it in mine. When I listed all the good things that happened, I missed one: you didn't sleep with him. I don't think any of us could find a way out of this. But you didn't, and I think we can. I took a deep breath. No, I know we can if we really want to try this time. So please. Come inside and stay the night. Don't in my bed, I'm not saying that. But just so I know you'll stay safe. Her jaw dropped and then she muttered, "Oh, okay." Pause. Are you serious? What you said about missing me and trying to find your way back. Is it true? I nodded. I'll get your bags. Go inside. Make yourself at home. And she did it. Moreover, she made my house a home, a real home. Not at first, of course. 4 hours in the car was not enough to overcome all the differences or remember everything that had happened in our lives. But this was the beginning. We acted slowly. Got a consultation. Did all the smart things we wanted to do when we first tried to repair our relationship. It turned out to be a lot easier when we weren't constantly being bombarded by random assholes. A few weeks later we found ourselves in bed together. After about a week, we finally got out of bed for longer than it took to eat or shower. I lost my beard, she kept her hair. Every now and then someone will recognize us, but these days it's more of a source of entertainment than another rock trying to crush us. Hell, we were even spotted together on our honeymoon and posed for the infamous photo a few times, albeit with a few variations. Sometimes Tracy would get attention while I was looking at my phone, but sometimes the much more muscular Chuck would chat with a gorgeous bikini-clad woman while Tracy examined her nails. Yes, we still have pages on Know Your Meme, but the internet is evolving. However, I don't actually know what a thing is at the moment. Tracy and I deleted all of our social media accounts shortly before we broke up. I don't think any of us miss them. I'm damn sure not. Every now and then I think back and wonder if we could have somehow stayed together, but I don't know how. Tracy and Bill simply couldn't do it. Tracy knew how badly she had screwed up, but she couldn't truly grasp how much pain she had unintentionally caused until she felt it directly. There was too much going wrong in Bill's life even before the shooting and he didn't see a way out. The additional stress was too much. No, Tracy and Bill would never do that. But Liz and Will? We are diff. Rent people. Liz is more down to earth and empathetic. Will is mentally more resilient and self-confident. I'm not trying to tempt fate, but I meant what I said. I'm confident we can do it. The baby bouncing on my lap and the baby growing in my loving wife's belly as I write this article show how confident I am in my faith. At the beginning I said that my life would be much easier if Tracy died. It's probably true. But simpler and better are two different things. I can't imagine a better life than the one I have now, and I can't imagine a better version of the two of us. Better hurts sometimes, but in my case, I will take it simpler every time.